Hi everybody, it's great to be back here again on Itamar. It's Friday, a week flew by, and let's talk about Torah. Yesterday was a very, very special day. It was the New Year of Trees called Rosh Hashanah Lilanot. In Judaism there are 4 New Years, and one of them is dedicated to the trees. And what does that mean? Well, it has implications as far as Jewish law. When a person grows his trees, and comes to pick his trees, for example, let's say he planted a vineyard and he has a lot of grapes that he grew on those trees. Well, he has to separate tais before he can eat them. He just can't go eat the grapes right away. You got to first think about, wait a second, I have to give something to the priests, Kohanim. I got to give something to the Levites, and then I got to give something to the poor people. And some of them are brought up to Jerusalem to be eaten in Jerusalem in holiness. I'm not going to get into the details of this law now, but the cutoff point of the tais is called the Rosh Hashanah Lilanot. It's called Tu B'Shvat, which means on this day, all the fruit of the trees that began to grow beforehand, which means they already reached a certain size before this date of Tu B'Shvat, they are considered last year's tais. And the fruit that only begin to grow now after this day of Tu B'Shvat are considered the New Year's tais. And there are many, of course, details to this law, but that's the special day, of course. That's the source behind the New Year of the trees, and of course there's a lot of other deep understanding behind this whole holiday in itself. But I don't really want to talk about that today. I just didn't really prepare a lesson on the spiritual meaning of Tu B'Shvat, because that's a very, very great topic in itself, and it warrants a very, very special lesson, and I have to sit down and prepare that for you. But anyway, yesterday it's also custom in Israel on this special day of New Year of Trees to plant trees, just to go out there and feel the soil of the land of Israel. And we had a wonderful experience yesterday when our great friend Tani Zarelli, who lives in Washington, she's the wife of Joseph Zarelli, state senator of Washington, and she brought a group out here to Itamar, as she always does. A couple times a year she comes here with groups and showing people around the land of Israel. A wonderful, wonderful job she's doing and spreading the love for the land of Israel, and amazing person, really an amazing person. Well, yesterday she brought a group of some people that have been here before, very good friends of ours, and some new people we haven't seen before. Most people from Washington, from Texas. And wow, we had a great experience of planting trees, and everyone felt what it was like for actually being part of building the land, of putting a tree in the soil of Israel. And I have some testimonies that I took yesterday, and I want to share those testimonies with you of the certain feelings of some of those wonderful friends that came yesterday to plant trees on Itamar. And we did this in an area, a special park that we began building. It was last year for children, and we keep adding on and making this little place grow, and just feeling like we're building a little corner in the land of Israel. It's a very special thing. And I always mention, when you're doing something in Israel, you're planting a tree in the land of Israel, you're being part of eternity. It's not just building something somewhere. It's building God's land, building up God's land. It's a very, very special feeling and connection. And you have to experience it to live it. Well, I'm going to show, again, some testimonies to you later for those who participated in this wonderful experience, which was amazing. But before we do so, I want to give a quick reflection on this week's portion, because we can't skip over the weekly portion, of course, because that's what we're all waiting for, some Torah. And it says, Vayishma Yitro. Yitro, or in English Jethro, heard. And what did he hear? He was, of course, the father-in-law of Moses. And it says he heard everything that God did to Moses and the Jewish people. Because God, of course, took the Jewish people out of Egypt, and Yitro hears about these great things that went on, and etc., and so on and so on. We know that Yitro was the real tremendous giant of a person. He went around for many, many years of his life, and he was a priest at this point. It says, it calls him Kohen Midyan. He was the priest of the Midianites. And Yitro was in a search. His whole life was a big search. He was trying to find the proper religion in this world. How can he serve God? And he tried so many different things. Our rabbis teach us that he went to he didn't leave over one idol worship that he didn't practice and try to find out what was behind it, because he really was searching for God. It reminds me like the story of Abraham, of course, his search for God itself. And amazingly, Yitro, of course, his daughter ends up marrying Moses, but he's finally reaches his final search and finds his love of life when he connects with the Jewish people. He connects with Moses and the land of Israel and the people of Israel and God, and that's when Yitro turns to the Jewish people and becomes part. As the first convert to Judaism is Jethro, and he represents a tremendous feeling of many people in the world that are running around and searching for the truth in this world, looking to do the right thing, and how do we serve God, and which way do we serve God. And Yitro is a perfect example of, after a long journey, actually finding himself with the Jewish nation. And of course, Judaism is not a religion of proselytizing and missionizing. We're against that. We're very against missionaries, and we're very against, for our personal selves, doing such a thing, because we're not out there to try to convert people. That's not the Jewish way. And therefore we don't like, God forbid, when people try to convert our people to their religions. We find that very offensive, and that's a very grave sin in God's eyes. But what we do want to do, and we are obliged to do, is to reach out to those who want to be reached out to, and those who are turning to us for support and for help. Understand about God's ways in the world. That's our job. So we're definitely going to do that. And when people do, we're going to answer questions. And even if a person is so turned on by Judaism and loves Judaism, we're going to try to convince him, well, slow down. We don't want you to convert. You can be a wonderful, righteous non-Jew and go on and worshiping God and doing so many commandments in the Torah. There are 7 major fundamental commandments in the Torah, of course, that oblige anyone who's not Jewish. But besides these 7, there are many branches that branch out from those 7. So it's a huge undertaking to be a student of those 7 laws that one must be involved in. But the point is, when Jethro came along, and he wouldn't settle for anything else, of course, he was looking for true devotion to God, and he found it through the Jewish people. And that is what really the message of this expulsion is all about. After this whole huge event of taking the Jewish people out of the land of Egypt and splitting the sea and all the amazing miracles that took place, and of course the war of Amalek, this powerful war of these evil Amalek forces coming along, and Moses raising his hands and weakening Amalek. This is what attracted this individual Jethro to contemplate, to think about, wow, this is unusual. These people are not like any other people in this world we've seen so far. And of course this brought him wanting to be close. This actually led him to his path in life and trying to find the proper way of worshiping God. And that was Jethro. And that was his amazing path. We think about other stories in the Bible where we meet with similar situations. We have 2 more really stand out. One of them is, of course, Rachav, when Joshua comes to the land of Israel, of course, and captures the land of Israel, and he sends his spies out to Jericho, and Rachav was actually a harlot, and she comes out and she saves the spies that came there and hides them, and she begins to reveal to the spies of what actually was going on in the whole society of Jericho. And she felt that people have no more spirit anymore. They've heard about that she heard about, of course, the great nation of Israel. And she herself, we know, our rabbis teach us that Rachav converted, and we see there's hints to it in the verses itself, how she converted to Judaism. And not only that, she ended up marrying Joshua. So that were traditions. That was Rachav, another individual, great individual. And later on, the famous story of Ruth. If you look in the Megillah of Ruth, and we see how she completely held on to her mother-in-law, and she, again, this was a situation where there was famine in the land, and the family even left the land of Israel, and it wasn't an easy time. It wasn't an easy time at all for the Jewish people in that time of period of time. But the love that Ruth felt when she entered the house of Naomi, she saw the light of the Torah in the house. She saw a woman of valor that was talking Torah, talking about God, and she felt, wow, I'm surrounded by idol worship, and now she has this wonderful opportunity of leaving that, and she just did not want to separate herself from that path of life. And that's the great story of Ruth, of course, also joining the house of Israel, and later on meriting in being the, of course, great-great-grandmother, going down the line of King David, and of course the King of Israel, right? And we all know about King David, of course. So the story again about this week's portion is connecting to the Jewish people, finding a path with the Jewish people, and continuing to grow. And that's Jethro, and that is Rachav, and that is, again, the story of Ruth. Well, I'd like to just go on forever here, but I did promise you some testimonies now about the planting trees in Israel, and actually talking about the experience that everyone experienced. So I'm going to add that on to this clip itself, and we're going to actually go into move on from talking about the portion to planting trees. Of course, it's all connected because it's all Israel. So let's go for it.
My name's Rob Sanders. I'm from Kalama, Washington, and planting a tree here today feels like I'm leaving a piece of me and a legacy in Israel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Carla Sanders. I'm also from Kalama, Washington. And when I first heard we were going to plant trees up here, I thought, oh, it's a little touchy-feely, a little too green for me. But when I came here and I saw this is the most perfect thing to do, is to actually help build a legacy. And so I'm just honored that we were able to be a part of it.
Thank you.
We are Matt and Mindy already. Matt and Mindy from Washington, and we're really excited about your community here and what you're doing and answering the call of God. And we're just blessed and honored to be able to leave some trees here, plant some trees for the kids to have some shade in the hot summers. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeff and Ruth Beal. Planting trees here has been the most amazing thing. I was here last year. This is the most amazing place where God is and God's people, and we are so honored to be a part, to be here and just to be with you guys, and we love you so much. Thank you for letting us come and plant on this special day. It means a lot. It means a lot to me personally, and him too. He just doesn't know it yet.
Hi, it's Mark. I just want you to know that I am so blessed to be right here and have been able to take part in planting trees and making this park look even more beautiful, and maybe one day having to experience the shade of a tree here. But I just want you to know that you, Itamar, are the inspiration to me. And you're an inspiration to all those who are going through hard times, because in those hard times we look to you and we see you standing strong. We see you standing so strong in the face of all adversity. We love you, we bless you, and we know that God's hand is upon you. May God bless you and continue to grow on the land of Itamar. Thank you so much for receiving us.